Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to Rebel, Reject, Create, where I, Mr. David Chislett, interview a whole host of highly creative people from all sorts of disciplines, walks of life, and corners of the globe. And today I'm chatting with Mr. Michael Dean Dargie, who is tucked away up in the North Americas, who's, another one of these really irritating individuals who seems to do all sorts of different things. Which is why, of course, we want to speak to him, because how on earth is that possible? So, if you are watching this, thank you so much for clicking on the link. Don't forget to like the video, maybe hit the subscribe button. There's a whole lot of these interviews that have already been done, and there'll be more on the way. So don't be shy, subscribe, and you'll be kept up to date as and when new films go live. So, enough of that. Michael, welcome. How are you doing?
David, I'm so good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we're finally having this conversation.
Yeah,
It's
me too.
oh good. Good.
I'm so far away from you.
Yes, well, there's that. Oh no, let's not start with the music titles.
No,
Okay.
no, no.
All right.
Walking away.
Now, you are a creative in the advertising sense, as in you have an agency, you do brand jiu-jitsu, and what exactly is that all about? Can you give us a quick overhead
Sure.
view of that line of work?
Yeah, sure. Yes, I own a creative agency. It's called Make More Creative. I'm on a quest to create as many things as possible while I'm here on Earth. Help people share their story is kind of a big part of what we do. Um, I like helping people find their story and shape it and then share it with the world through all sorts of different mediums, whether it's commercials or advertising campaigns, um, you know, short films, long films, television series that we're trying to launch, that sort of thing.
All right, good. And then I don't even know if it's on the side, but you also are involved in theater and filmmaking, and there's a guitar hanging around behind you there as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of them
Oh,
back
there we go.
there.
Oh, Lord,
Yeah.
yes, look at that. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, a bass, an acoustic, and an electric. There we go.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. There's a cajon somewhere over there
Yeah.
for some percussion. I'm with I'm a theater company member at Loose Moose Theater, which is an improv company here in Calgary, and um, I have co-written, co-directed a one-act play as well. I'm active in theater when we can do theater. I do music just for myself these days. I haven't been on stage playing music for probably 20 years.
Hmm.
But I just, play with friends but the short films, I've done a bunch of stuff for Loose Moose Theater during the pandemic, but also through Drop Bear and Panda TV is the other creative arm to Make More Creative. We do high-end commercials and short films, music videos, no budget films. Like they're just, here's a cat puppet that's taking over our house during Christmas kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's we do lots of different things.
That is a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
when you look at that, what's the link?
Uh, I'm always chasing, I guess, what's possible. I get the through line is story. Like I love telling stories. I love finding stories. And I like helping people share stories. Like Jennifer, my creative partner, she'll come up with this idea. So like Jingle Cat, for example, was our Christmas special for Drop Bear and Panda. And her cat is a poet who had, I know it sounds weird, but like legit, her cat Newton is a poet. He has an agent. He's written an entire book of poetry. And we have a puppet for Newton. And she was just like, what happens if we had like a thrash metal Christmas song called, Jingle Cat or something? And we did a music video for him tearing apart the house. And I was like, yeah, let's do that.
As
So
one does.
yeah, as one does, as one would do, and as we did do. So I reached out. I get another through line, I think, is taking all sorts of different people, creative people, and bringing them into the process and just sharing the fun.
Right.
So we had, cinematographers. We had this guy Emery Cords, who actually wrote the Jingle Cat thrash song. We had like a scream metal guy, voice it for us.
Right.
We had a friend of ours make the puppet for Newton. Like I said, it's a collaboration, creative collaboration, I guess, is another through line.
Right, right. Now, most people would have an idea about a thrash metal Christmas song featuring a cat poet, have a good laugh, and move swiftly on.
Yeah.
How can you explain that that just doesn't happen in your life?
Oh, interesting question. I don't know. Like I guess it goes to the curiosity of, what happens next.
Hmm.
It's kind of like choose your own adventure. And, every time I turn around, there's like, what if I did this? I don't know. What if I did that? I haven't done that before. So let's try it out.
Right, right. The reason why I really wanted to ask you that question is because I think so many people think of highly creative people and they think of dreamers of, I don't know, stoners, weirdos, people who just don't get much done.
Yeah.
But quite clearly, your problem is not that you don't get stuff done; is that you start doing too much.
Yeah, certainly there's a balance to it that's difficult to find. There's the stuff that pays the bills and enables me to do all sorts of other weird things, and there's the stuff that I don't know, scratches a creative itch.
Yeah.
And often the two are combined. Like a lot of the stuff I do for clients, really scratches a creative itch and pays really well to do it, which allows me to, go in other directions and, help Loose Moose Theater, for example, produce a show. We did a Christmas Carol back in 1919. Back in 2020, during the pandemic, we did a silent film version of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, but we called it the Christmas Carol. And it was the first silent film version shot in the first pandemic in 1919. So
Right.
I could only do that because I've got, do all this fun work with other clients. And then I can spend, a weekend shooting a film with a bunch of crazy people.
Right. So if you reflect on it now, your creative process, putting together creative work for a paying client, from the creative agency point of view, some kind of marketing, advertising related action, how does that process compare or differ from the process you go through when you're putting together thrash metal Christmas cats or one act plays?
Oh, what a great question. I think it differs a little bit in that, the thrash metal Christmas cat, there's really no, our timeline is somewhat flexible. We understand, we had the lyric already written, which was great. We knew the people that were involved and we didn't give them a tight timeline to deal with things. We shot off the hip for most of it. We gave ourselves a little bit of wiggle room for editing. On the other side of it, when you're doing it for a client, you've got 4 weeks of pre-production, you've got 2 days of production, and then you've got 3 to 4 weeks of post-production. And because every moment is, counts, because it's billable, because you have to be, really ruthless with your time to, not charge the clients more money than they need to pay. I guess that's kind of where it comes down to, is that, the client stuff is very focused and tight and rigid. I like to play in a playground with guardrails like this. With a client project, you tighten those guardrails a lot and you become very, very channel focused. Jingle Cat, not so much.
Not so much. Do you think those really rigid, these guidelines in some way might make you actually more creative?
Absolutely. And deadlines. Oh my God, deadlines make me super creative because you've got to accomplish this thing, which seems impossible a lot of the time. And because of that crucible, that pressure really kind of boils everything down to what's actually important. And you can stop wondering what might be important.
Okay. Because that was going to be my next question. Is like, well, in my experience with creativity, if you think too much, you kind of screw it all up.
Yeah.
Under a crucible of pressure, surely you're thinking an awful lot. So how do you kind of wriggle out of that one?
Well, I think it goes to, it kind of goes a bit to improv. You have to enjoy the moment, recognize the moment that you're in, and see the truth of the moment that you're in. So yeah, you're under those tight deadlines, but at some point you have to make a decision. You've got to stop thinking about the decision, own it, and then move forward with it, no matter where it takes you.
Right. So you move very quickly from thought into action, actually.
Yeah. And once once you've shot the stuff, you're going to take a while to figure out the story, but once the story's set, you're going to figure out how you're going to shoot it. And then once you hit those shots, you can't go back and reshoot them without spending a whole lot of money, time, and effort. So now you've got, you've got to put it all together and have it make sense.
Do you think you could use that template to make a short film or write a song?
Which
the corporate template, the commercial production one. Set deadlines, set production parameters, set a storyline.
I don't like where you're going with this, sir. Yes, certainly you can. Yeah, absolutely you can, and you should. One really should do that. But there's so much of that in my day-to-day life that I do like the idea of not doing it for all the things.
Fair enough.
I really do like I'm doing this 100-day writing challenge for myself right now, and I'm on day 88. And I've missed a couple days here and there, but typically I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, I wake up at 5:30 thinking about what I'm going to write about. And then I drag my ass out of bed to grab a cup of coffee, go down to my computer, and then I just start writing. And so whatever comes out is what I publish that day. And that's because I don't know what I'm going to write about. I've written about, raising kids. I've written about riding motorcycles. I've written about, plays that I've been in. So I never know what's going to happen next. And and I'm often surprised by what happens on page, which I think is part of the joy that I find in creativity. I like being surprised by my characters. I like being surprised by the moments I find, because I had no idea going into it that that's where it was going.
How do you account for that? A lot of creative people, especially when they're writing or drawing, say this. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't thinking about that, but I sat down and I got going, and that's what happened.
And I think it's gathering experiences. Because you're throwing all these experiences and thoughts and ideas and interactions. I tend to notice things. I wouldn't say I notice things more than other people, but I do pay attention to a lot of minutia that other people disregard. And somehow that just shows up every once in a while. How a duck approaches a piece of bread, I find it really curious. And I might use that moment to talk about how this guy that I was working with was, approaching a project. We can tie these things in together, right?
I like that. One of the explanations I give for my kind of creative proclivities is that I'm a very keen observer of detail.
Yeah,
I really do. And then you kind of juxtapose that detail into an unexpected situation, or an inappropriate one, even better.
I love contrast. That's another secret weapon, I think, of creativity, is finding the contrast in things. The contrast between the duck and the business guy. That contrast just lives there, already, but you can amp it up, in a whole nother way. But yeah, contrast is key.
Yeah. So if someone comes to you and says, "Oh, Mr. Dargie, you're some kind of creative guru, wise man, Yoda, I'm stuck. What should I do? I can't possibly be creative." But you're only allowed to give one piece of advice. What do you say?
Go for a walk.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I won't even couch it with anything else other than just go for a walk. Get out. All
right. Well, if you're listening to this and you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, especially if you want to see more interviews like this. And if you're enjoying what Michael's saying and you want to ask him a question, just slam it into the comments, because both he and I will be coming back to look at that. So don't be shy. And maybe let us know what of his observations and comments you've enjoyed the most so far. All right, so what is on the back burner today?
Like today, or in the future today?
Now, literally, like, what is on the back burner that something you want to do that you're not doing, that's sitting there waiting?
Oh, well, so there's this thing called biker tips that I've been working on for the past couple of years. And by working on, I mean I ride my motorcycle around with cameras, and I capture all these crazy moments riding motorcycles. Way back in the day, I used to teach motorcycle riding, and I used to test for it. And my kids are at the age where they're riding, so I wanted to like give them something to help them stay safe. So what's on the horizon right now is finishing biker tips and starting to put out all this content that I've been building into some sort of thing that people can use.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that going to look anything like what you thought it was going to look like when you started?
No. No. I think when I first started, it was all super polished, and it was I came at it being like, oh, it's going to be very corporate. It's going to be a very, and I don't think it's that way, because I don't think it'd be very interesting to people. I think that the way it looks now is a lot like slice of life stuff. Here's what happens when you're riding on two wheels. Here's what to expect. Here's what to watch for. Without ever losing the joy of being on two wheels,
Right. Is that something you might observe more often? The longer you sit with a project, the more kind of you it becomes, and less some idea of what it should be?
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, I think I could probably argue both sides, which is also a creative superpower. Or it's a creative albatross. It's hard to say. But I think that if I had just done it and released it, I will have moved on and have found this anyways. I would just have more content out in the world, and I probably maybe would have found it quicker had I just gone ahead and done it how I envisioned it. I'm a big fan of making a mess. Like when I paint, I usually end up covered more in paint than a canvas or a wall that I'm painting. Like I'm very immersive in my art.
Right.
I don't know if that answers the question, but yes and no.
The nice thing about these interviews, there is no wrong answers.
Like suddenly the door crashes open and I get hauled away.
Yeah. The hook. What did you want to be when you were a little boy?
I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Okay, that I was not expecting.
Yeah, I used to watch the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau when I was a kid, and I was fascinated by scuba diving and the underwater world, and I thought for sure that was what it was going to be. And I later refined that. I think when I was like 9 or 10, I was going to be a marine mammal biologist, because I much preferred whales to nudibranchs or octopus. But I'm now totally into cephalopods. I really love octopi.
What's it? My octopus teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what bomb went off in your life that disrupted all of that? How did you end up on this creative, crazy, multidisciplinary path?
Well, I think I just never had the scholastic aptitude for it. I was the kid in class that just drew on the backs of his tests. I couldn't sit there and watch a teacher teach. I had to be doing something while they taught. And back when I was in school, that wasn't the thing that was recognized as a learning style. Right. I think now it is. There's probably, you're a kinesthetic learner, or you have to do something to learn something.
Yeah.
Had it been recognized back then, maybe a completely different career path for me. But instead, I just kept doing what I naturally did, if that makes sense. Like I drew all the time, so I must be an artist.
I am what I do.
I am what I do. Yeah. And I like really loved riding motorcycles, so I might as well teach people how to ride motorcycles. And I really love doing jujitsu, so I should probably teach people how to do jujitsu. I wanted to get good enough at things along the way that I could teach it to other people and share that passion.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That was a long ways away from, marine biology. But now I'm a scuba diver. I've scuba dived all over the world, and I love doing it just for fun now.
I mean, if listening to this list of things that you've gotten up to over the years, it's amazing. You've done it all in just 10 years as well since you left school. I mean, you don't seem to have any fear of just going off and trying the next thing. How do you account for that? Is that something in your upbringing, or is that an attitude that you learned from experience, or where's that come from?
Great question again. I think that it's a multi-part answer. So part of it comes from loose moose. When I was very young, we moved from Toronto to just outside of Toronto to Calgary. My parents introduced me to Loose Moose Theater when I was 10 or 11, and I took classes on improv when I was very young. I never got on stage until like 7 years ago, though. But I took classes, and I think I learned that there's nothing to fear in failure. That if you don't fail at something, you're not trying it. And if you fail at something, that's just something new that you've learned that you can, repeat.
Yeah.
And I think there's an old judo adage. I was put in judo when I was 4 years old, and they say, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Yeah. So no matter how many times you go down, pick yourself back up. It's if you don't pick yourself back up that you're in trouble. Right. So I think I'm more afraid, David, of being stagnant and not exploring. I need to try things.
Yeah, great. Michael, man, it's been awesome talking to you. Where can people go if they want to find out more about your work? Is there like a central stop, or are there loads of places to go?
There are two, really, because I've given up mostly all social media as a cleanse, a social media cleanse. But michaeldargie.com is my personal website. So you can find out more stuff about that and read my 100 days of writing stuff. It's who knows what you'll discover. And then makemorecreative.com, which is the business side of things.
All right, great. We'll share those links underneath the video here, along with more biographical information about Mr. Doggie. Thank you to you for watching and listening this particular interview on YouTube. I'd love to hear what your favorite insights from Michael were, so please feel free to drop those into the comments. And as I said earlier, if you've got any questions about what Michael had to say, put those in as well. And both Michael and I will be checking back in once the video is live to see if we can answer your extremely difficult questions. So yes, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe so you catch the next interview as well. Hey, and if you know someone that you think I should interview who's really creative and interesting, hook a brother up. Put their name in the chat as well, and I'll get in touch and let's line them up for a Rebel, Reject, Create conversation with me. Michael Dean Dargie, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's been real.
David Chislett, love you, man.